I'm standing outside the University of Winnipeg Science Building, where my academic colleagues and their students are arriving for the first day of a new semester. But unfortunately, the state of science in this country is not a subject that is getting much airplay during this long election campaign. Let's be clear, the first half of the Harper majority government saw the wholesale gutting of environmental laws, the muzzling of scientists, and the erosion of our capacity to monitor the Canadian environment. And what we've seen in the last few weeks is that this process is still going on. First, the Harper government has chosen to close yet another regional science library. This one was the library of the Agriculture and Agri-Food Lethbridge Research Centre in Alberta. As was the case for other science libraries closed by Harper, much of the material ended up in a dumpster. As was the case in other libraries closed by the Harper regimes, the cost savings were trivial, but the loss of information and access to information are immense. In some cases, invaluable baseline data has vanished, meaning that we're losing irreplaceable information about the original state of Canadian ecosystems. And now the consequences of this deliberate unraveling of federal science capacity are becoming clear. Law Professor Martin Olszynski has analysed the consequences of Federal Fisheries Act deregulation. And he had this to say: the results of this research suggest the further erosion of an already deeply flawed regulatory regime and the near total abdication of the responsibility for protection of fish habitat by the federal government over the past decade. In other words, changes in the Fisheries Act have resulted in a lack of enforcement by a diminished DFO, which comes on top of previous reductions in enforcement capacity imposed by Liberal governments. So to sum up, the needs of science and essential monitoring are falling through the cracks in this federal election. The Tory war against science has continued, with recent library closures and the culture of rigid information control still in place. And the result is low morale in the federal civil service, an inability to enforce such laws as exist, scientists laid off, taking early retirement, and in some cases moving to other countries. As a professor of ecology, I could no longer look my students in the eye and say that they'll be able to get work in their chosen fields. And as a Green candidate and as environment critic for the Green Party, I've promised to restore and improve the Fisheries and Navigable Waterways Acts. Furthermore, Greens will work to bring an end to top-down information control of the federal civil service. Following trends in other countries, we need to bring in a new era of openness so that the public can know about the science that their tax dollars are paying for. I'm Andrew Park, Green Party candidate in Winnipeg South Centre.